everybody. I'm Everton de Oliveira from the Groundwater Project, and I'm very happy to bring you today Joanna Doummar. She's a geologist. She was born in Lebanon. She's a geologist from the American University of Beirut. She has her master's thesis from Neuchâtel in Switzerland and her PhD from Göttingen in Germany. And now she's a prof at the American University of Beirut. Welcome, Joanna. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. How are you?
Thank you very much for giving us this pleasure, this interview. How did you become a hydrogeologist? Tell us a bit about your story, please.
Okay, so first I was a geologist. Then I had the opportunity to work in a consultancy firm in very interesting hydrogeology projects. And I had the feeling that effectively hydrogeology is one of the disciplines in geology that is not as dry as the rest of them. And I fell in love with it. And this is how I continued to basically, I pursued my master's in hydrogeology and then a PhD later on. And I can never have enough of hydrogeology.
Oh, that's very good. That's very compelling for your students. It's a good example. Okay, so now you're a researcher, you're a professor and you're a researcher. You work with micro-pollutants, as I know, and monitoring, among other things. Tell us the importance of your work and what have you learned from this?
So basically, when we do some work, we think about the general aspect of the research and also like the scientific aspect of the research and also of the local application of the research. First, we try to monitor a lot of springs in Lebanon because of the lack of monitoring data. And then we try to integrate these monitoring data into models to understand a little bit what happens to water when it actually is rain or precipitation and what happens to it after it goes into the system. And then we actually try also to look into indicators in water to find out breakthrough of wastewater contaminations and things like that. So basically, what we have learned, for instance, I'm just going to give you an example of something we learned based on micro-pollutants. One time we tried to find the relationship between highly contaminated rivers with wastewater effluents and a spring used for supply. And only these scientific investigation allowed us basically to understand these relationships. And this is how we apply the science onto local applications for the region.
That's very nice. Could you explain and give some examples of micropollutants for a more general public that don't know exactly what you're talking about?
So micropollutants usually are like these pharmaceutical products or medicine that we use, and usually they're either fully metabolized as they go into the human body or they partially metabolized, and then when they leave our bodies, they just go into water, into wastewater, and then if wastewater is released into the environment, it goes into water. And this is how basically you end up drinking a little bit of all the medicine that you ingest. So I use these as transport indicators as they are found in very small quantities, and this is very helpful for us to understand how they are persistent in the environment.
Oh, that's very important. Can you give us a specific example of a medicine that you used?
Like for instance, we use carbamazepine, so it's an epileptic drug. Or sometimes we use also sucralose and those artificial sweeteners. These are considered as micropollutants and some sort of chemical products. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. And they end up in not only groundwater, but surface water as well.
That's right, in different quantities. And as you know, surface water and groundwater interact together sometimes. So you get in your groundwater something you never expected. And this is what we're trying to track.
And these are not usually analyzed for public water supply, correct?
Not really. I mean, first, the analysis is very costly and it requires a lot of time. So we're trying also to find a relationship between these micropollutants and low-cost indicators that you can measure at the spring. And if we compile both, we can try to guess whether a breakthrough of wastewater contamination could occur at the spring. And this could be very useful for stakeholders and decision makers, as they can use this to predict any contamination event. But that's the long run. That's on the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's coming. That's very good.
Yeah, it requires a lot of monitoring. We have been monitoring for 6 years now, so we're waiting to validate all the results. And this is how it's an ongoing project.
Okay, so we'll be in touch. You'll let us know when you get the results. That's very good.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. How did you get to know the Groundwater Project?
The Groundwater Project, I mean, I heard about it from some people before, but actually, I mean, a colleague of mine in IAH told me about it. So basically, and then I went into the internet and looked thoroughly into it and found that it's a very, very interesting and innovative initiative. And especially that when you think about groundwater, like I'm speaking about our region generally.
Yes.
So in our region, people don't know much about groundwater. Like everything that is fresh water is to them water. But groundwater is a very challenging resource and it's a very important one. And one of the key problems that we have is that people don't know about it. And for scientific like us, it's sometimes difficult to translate our investigations or our very dry science to local people or to local stakeholders or even to school students. So this Groundwater Project is ensuring to bridge the gap between science and community. And I think only through this increasing awareness, we are able to have more people involved and a wider audience involved in the questions of groundwater. And this is how basically we can promote a sustainable use or evidence support decisions in groundwater, etc. So that's in my opinion, it's a very, very interesting project. I'm really very much into supporting it and be part of it.
We hope we can count on you and your students and your, to spread the news around your region. That will be very welcome for sure. We know that groundwater is very important, and your help will be very, very welcome. Thank you. So now you're an IAH, International Association of Hydrogeologists member, and you're running for vice president for your region, as I know. I think it's a welcome move to have a better representation of women in IAH, since I'm a member as well. So what are your plans? How the Groundwater Project could help IAH in your region?
So basically, this is the first time I run for this position. I'm running as a hydrogeologist first, not related to gender, but it's also, I want to encourage more women and more young scientists to be part of this hydrogeology network. So this is why I actually accepted my nomination to this position. I hope first to consolidate the relationship within the different partners in the MENA region. So because we don't get to interact a lot together, but I think by just comparing different case studies, we get to develop new guidelines for water protection and see where there are gaps in our region. Because our region is one of the regions that is most affected by climate change, and we're talking about the semi-arid Mediterranean region. So it is very important that we took action right now rather than wait till later where water resources are depleted. So basically, my purpose is to consolidate this network, also encourage young scientists in the MENA region to join the hydrogeology network and to be involved in groundwater initiatives. That's pretty much it. And at the local scale, also encourage our decision makers to look into hydrogeology as this very, very important resource, or groundwater as this very, very important resource that we have to protect as much as we can.
Thank you. So you're very much in tune with what we're doing on the Groundwater Project. You're very welcome. Thank you. It's very nice having you here, Joanna. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Could you please give your final statement for us, please?
So I mean, groundwater is one of the most important, vital pillar of our society, and it's important that you know it.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you.